got it, man?
Yeah, I just packed in a little too much wood this last go around. Let me take a
Didn't
seat here.
expect there to be a lot.
I know, right? Well, I wasn't sure how long we were going to be here. But, anyways, let me take a seat down here on this log here. Make ourselves a little comfortable here.
Comfortable as it gets.
I mean, it's the great outdoors, right? Smell of nature, the whistle of the wind in the trees, maybe the sound of a cricket, maybe even a lone wolf howl, possibly in the distance.
We're kidding.
You know, every generation and all kinds of people tend to tell stories around the campfire, especially in this time of year, where things start to change in the world, it seems. Weather gets a little colder, the nights get a little longer, spirits seem to get a little restless. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it does seem like that.
You know, there's a few tales we could tell around this cozy little fire. You know what? I think that's just what we'll do.
Heck, I got a couple.
Alrighty. I, uh, I got a nice little one I can start off with. Something simple, something short, if you don't mind.
Hit me.
Alright. Pretty much, let's go back, the 1950s. The time of railroads. It's pretty much, after World War One, the workers are working hard to move coal, and it's just time of transportation, time of trains moving along the rails, transporting goods all across the country. But there was one train, the number 12B train. It was on its usual journey from Royston to Moncton, taking workers to and from the coking factory. Coca-Cola, that is. The day was supposed to be wet and gloomy, and a mist is said to have swept in from the east that night. On that cold autumn night, the moon was full, looking over Royston that night. But still, wives and children waited patiently for the men to return home safely. The train hurried along that night, leaving behind the company of the factory entered the bleak and lonely night. The train was nearing the tunnel that night, but the driver saw an old man crossing the tracks, so he ordered the train to a halt. Unfortunately, it was too late. The man was hit, and the driver wondered where the man's body was.
Oof.
Until the old man suddenly appeared before him and stated these words: "Sleep safely this night, as it will be your last." It's hard to say what had happened. The train never made it home. Soon, people went out wandering, and thus they found the train, dead on the tracks. No steam, rose from the locomotive. The fire had long since burned out. But what was even stranger yet, all of the men on that train had died mysteriously that night. Their bodies laid, strung out, in and out of the cars. No signs of struggle, no signs of foul play or weapons used, just as if they had fallen down in mid sentence. Now the tracks remain closed. Superstition is past, and the tracks will open again one day. Alright, Shovel, your turn.
I guess I'll start off with a personal one. This is from my own experience. I before my, well, I guess this would be after my great grandma died from cancer. I was 9, and I used to always love to head over to my great grandpa's house because he was always so loving. He'd always take me wherever the heck I would want to go, buy me whatever I wanted. He was that grandpa, you know? And every weekend I would always stay over there. But there was one week where it was especially late that my mom decided to take me over. It was on Saturday, and he was, as I got up to the door to knock to get in, my mom pulled off without checking to see if I got in the house, which is kind of bad.
Hmm.
I knock, the door's locked, the dogs start barking, and I can hear the shower. 'Cause it's pretty close to the front door. I can hear the shower running, so I assume, okay, he's in the shower. I'll just, I guess I'll wait here till he gets out. And like, as I start to walk back towards the driveway down the sidewalk, like the door just opens wide. Like slowly opens wide too. It isn't just like a, oh, maybe it was unlocked and it was just jammed and it slightly pushed open. It was a slow opening wide, and the dogs, like, they didn't care. They were like, okay, the door's open, yay, there I am. But like, how I really wonder to this day how the heck that door came open. Because when I walk in, he is in the shower. Like, there's nobody there. And I do remember the door being locked. It kind of freaked me out for like a week. That it's pretty darn scary.
Wow. That. Hmm. Not sure if I can top that one. But this is another non-personal story. We start out in a campground similar to this. You hear a creak, a sound faint distant, but heard. A crack. Something snapping or being trampled on. A man sits in his room reading. The room is silent except for the quiet fire burning in the foyer. Creak. Just the house settling, nothing more. Crack. Perhaps some animals outdoors. at the wind. The man stands up and peeks out the window. A clear night is all he sees. Full moon is brilliant in the sky. Laughing at his nervousness, he returns to his book. Creak, a little louder. The man now silently chuckles at the sound. Crack. How could he have been scared of some sounds? Another whoosh. Must be breezy out tonight. A thump. Did that come from within the house? The man stares into the fire, trying to calm his jangled nerves. Another creak. Another crack. Another whoosh. Will the sound never cease? Closer, he thinks. Sounds are getting closer. He shuts the book, closes his eyes and thinks something besides his imagination, his wild imagination. Pause. Man moves quietly, slowly towards the door with a nervous gait. A step back. Yes, it's getting closer. He stares at the door, trying to somehow see through it. He reaches slowly for the doorknob. Hand shaking. No longer able, no longer knowing. He slowly opens the door. A loose floorboard near the door outside. Suddenly, from outside the house, all that was heard was a scream. Nothing more was heard. Only silence.
Damn, dude. You had me invested.
Your turn.
All right, let me rack my brain here. Do a little bit of improv. How about a little more modern housing? It'd be midnight in a second story modern house, say 2020. This girl, let's call her Abby. She is probably full grown, let's say 18. She's able to live on her own, but she still chooses to live with her parents because they allow it. This particular night, their parents were gone. Maybe at the bar. And she would be home alone with no pets in a thunderstorm. Ran pretty, beaten down pretty hard on the roof. And suddenly, the power goes out. Exactly.
Keep going.
That this particular lightning strike wakes her up. And she reaches for her phone since all the lights in the entire house have gone out. Turns on her flashlight, creaks downstairs, checks around, sees like nothing's broken, nothing's interrupted, heads on back upstairs. But as soon as she gets halfway up the stairs, she hears a creak from the kitchen window. It slowly opens, wide. So she checks it out. Nothing's out there, of course. Why would there be? But it still hasn't answered the question as to how the window opened. She quickly closes it, locks it, checks all the locks, and texts her mom that the power is out and somebody opened the window. So she quickly runs upstairs, closes her door, and locks it. Tries lights, nothing. Makes sure her window, her second-story window, is locked. She gets about 30 minutes of sleep before another bang wakes her up. So, of course, she tries to investigate again. Unlocks her door, goes to the top of the stairs, and there she sees a shadowy man standing at the front door. This man quickly busts through the door and runs outside. Door right off of his hinges. So now she really, really panics, goes back into her room, locks the door again, frantically texting her mom that somebody has just broken in and the entire front door is off its hinges. Her mom tells her that it's going to be okay and they will be there within 10 minutes. As she is writing this text message, her window on the second story also starts to open. She backs up, frantically looking for a hiding place. She finds her closet. She barely fits. That shadowy man starts to slowly creep into her window and starts searching for her. He eventually goes through her bedroom door, still scouring the house, looking for any sign of life. This man, after finding absolutely nothing, starts to recede from the house. So, she thinks it's safe. She starts to creep out of her closet. This man suddenly hears the closet opening from the front door. He books it up the stairs. She frantically tries to close her door again, but it is too late. He fits his hand through the door, swings it open, and grabs her. Her parents arrive at the house. There's signs of somebody breaking in, but the front door is not off its hinges. The only sign of somebody entering was the second floor window being left open. This girl was never heard from again. Her parents put up poster after poster looking for anybody that has seen signs of her, but there's nothing. Eh?
Not bad. That actually gave me chills. I only really have one more. Again, I don't have any good personal stories. I mean,
Yeah, I only have the one.
aside from me getting scared shitless in the dark every now and then, but like, okay, look, if I'm outside by myself with very little moonlight and absolutely no stars to be seen, walking across the yard, your mind starts playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
I mean, you look around, you know there's nothing there, but you can feel the hair stand up on the back of your neck, and you start getting goosebumps. And you feel that chill up your spine. You can just barely see the house. You can barely see your house lights. Porch light isn't on, but you can barely see the house lights. But if you look behind you, all you see is pitch black. And you, even though you're walking, you start hearing footsteps behind you. It's so weird how it works sometimes, because you'll take 5 steps and suddenly you hear like there's a 6th step somewhere behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if there's something there or not? Is it just a random animal? Is it just is it just, the sound of a twig falling off of an old tree? No one knows. It just messes with you. Then you pretty much start to panic and you make a mad dash for a house. Even though
That's
there's
when the
really
survival instincts kick in.
yeah, exactly. A young couple was delighted to purchase the old-fashioned house in the Stuyvesant Square section of Philadelphia. They moved into their dream home in the winter of 1889, bringing their 6-year-old daughter with them. There was a lot of refurbishing to do, so the little girl attempted to go up into the attic and play while her parents were occupied with the house. It wasn't as bad as it sounds, because the previous owners had converted the attic into a playroom. It even had a fireplace at one point, but it was currently boarded up. After a couple of weeks of hard work, the downstairs rooms were finished. The mother, realizing that she had been neglecting their daughter, attempted to try and spend more time with her now. But the little girl seemed distracted. She kept stealing up into the attic alone to play. Exasperated, and perhaps a little hurt, the child was not being responsive to her attentions. The mother finally asked, "What's so interesting up there in that stuffy room?" "It's the little boy with the shiny buttons," the child replied. "So much fun to play with." "What little boy?" the mother demanded, wondering if a servant child had stowed away in the room. Again, this is the 1800s. She went to investigate, but found the room empty. certain that her daughter was just being contrary, she urged her husband to discipline the child. At her father's stern voice, the little girl became hysterical. She kept repeating that there was a little boy, and he wore a blue jacket with lots of shiny buttons on it. As her father listened, he became more and more curious. Formerly a sailor, he realized his daughter was describing a child's sailor suit, complete with the brass buttons. The girl's father made some inquiries about the Cowderleys, the family that had lived in the house prior. He learned that they had come from England, bringing their children with them, two boys and a girl. The youngest child, a boy, unfortunately, was not quite right. The neighbors described him as a sweet child, but with mental disabilities, and added that Mr. Cowderley was ashamed of him and tried to prevent him from being seen outdoors. According to the boy's parents, the neighbors continued. According to the boy's parents, the neighbors continued, the young boy would often sneak out to go down to the river. The story goes on to say that one day he fell and drowned. His body was never recovered, but his cap had been found floating in the river. Shortly after the disappearance, the Cowderleys put the house up for sale and left Philadelphia, dropping out of sight, never to be heard from again. The former sailor, suspicious, were now thoroughly aroused. He accompanied his little daughter to the attic and asked her to show him where the little boy came from. She pointed to the boarded up fireplace. Her father called workers in to open it and then to remove the mortar and submitted up a cavity beside the chimney. As the mortar was chipped away, the corpse of a small boy's body was revealed. He was clothed in a little blue sailor jacket with 4 rows of brass buttons down the front. Further examination revealed that the back of the child's head had been beaten by a violent blow. The little boy never drowned. He was murdered.
Hmm.
A bit long.
No, that was freaking perfect. Again, I had my friggin' hands around my mouth.
Well, it appears that attendance is a bit shy this evening.
Hmm.
So, I think we could probably go ahead and maybe end things a bit early tonight. Wouldn't you agree?
Sure, man, you're running it.
So, we thank you for joining us on this short stream. of the Omega Republic Scary Stories. We thank you for joining us this Halloween season as we get closer to the end. I mean, the end of Halloween, that is. We hope that you will join us here next time. I am your host, Coppercat, and our new fellow inductee staff member, Shovel.
Hello, hello. And goodbye, Egg Horse.
See you here next time.